All right, it's Dave over on the Real Media Observer. Thanks for tuning in. So, I'm going to be doing a series of videos about how each problem that we have is a self inflicted, chaotic event that is creating turmoil, creating hypertension, creating, even I would go as far as to say it's decreasing your body's ability to deal with problems, immunity issues, guaranteed. And this, even for healthy individuals, this is a chemical reaction in your body, this daily onslaught of negative news. And the news media obviously is aiding and abetting. And I believe these are treasonous activities all around, because it seems as if everything is by design. And that does not make me a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist. I have been looking at this now for years. And this goes back to Rahm Emanuel. Never let a good crisis go to waste. That was the beginning. That was the very beginning of understanding this philosophy. And those who are in power, this is the way they go about seeking to kill and destroy and hurt average people who are just trying to live and make ends meet. So the first crisis I'm going to talk about is the energy crisis. Now, I could have done the food crisis, but I'm going for energy first. And energy, if you don't have affordable, clean energy, efficient energy, I should say, then you cannot do anything. You're not going to be able to sustain an economy. You're not going to see wages go up in a way that actually have value. You've had this debate for a number of years that we need to go solar and green and all this stuff. And the technology isn't there. And what's even worse is that we don't subsidize things that might actually be effective, like biofuel, like hydrogen powered vehicles, hydrogen powered homes for that matter. Solar power is good, especially in residential areas, and solar farms can be built in certain areas that can help offset some of the need that we have for fossil fuels. But this current administration, what they did at the outset was they destroyed the energy economy that we had. And rather than saying, look, here's what a smart, normal person would do. It's kind of like pulling all those troops out of Afghanistan all at the same time. It's the same concept with the energy. It's like, okay, we should have a plan to pull the troops out, right? We should have a plan. Okay, Trump was all about, energy security and fossil fuels. So if you don't like fossil fuels, right, you think to yourself, okay, maybe we can convert over to biofuels. Maybe we can slowly wean ourselves off of this and go to something else. But acknowledge that the technology, there's nothing to replace combustion engines on a large scale that burn either regular gas or diesel fuel. And the diesel fuel crisis is even worse because that powers trucks and airplanes and some smaller commercial vehicles, and even everyday drivers who were told a long time ago diesel is more efficient, the diesel engine is more reliable, yada, yada, yada. All of those things I think are true, but the problem is we've really decided that we don't want this energy as our future, but we don't have anything to replace it in the near future at all. We don't. The technology isn't there. Nobody's going to subsidize you. Nobody's going to give you money to buy an electric car. And by the way, you still have to plug the electric car in, right? and there are inconveniences there. You just can't go to the filling station and fill up with electricity in, I don't know, 5 minutes or 3 minutes. You've got to park it and let it sit there for a while. So again, the technology is not there. And what that does is it puts stress on people because, again, even if you wanted to buy an electric car, most people can't afford them, right? Hybrids, same thing. Used car prices, just a used car has gone up like 30 or 40%. You know, an SUV that's like 20 years old with 250,000 miles on it. I'm seeing prices like, hey, it's a bargain at $4,000 for this, you know, Chevy Trailblazer. And you're thinking to yourself, car is 20 years old and it's already got too many miles on it. And they want to charge me $4,000 for that car. No, thank you. But that's all that there is out there. I mean, you might be able to find, you know, a private owner, but the point of the discussion here is that people cannot afford to just go, hey, I was driving a gas powered car my whole life, and now I can switch over to electric just like that because the government has forced me to do it. That's the whole nudge concept. And I'll tell you what, it's more like a push and you're on a cliff and they're pushing you over. This is a catastrophe on so many levels because, again, the psychology of this is hopelessness. And you'll find throughout all of these problems that there's an element of hopelessness. See, America used to be the place where we would tackle problems, where we would say, okay, so gas prices are out of control. So why don't we just pump more of our own oil, right? I mean, that was the Trump solution. It was the drill, baby, drill solution. And $1.96 a gallon prior to November 2020. All right. And so that is better than, hey, we're going to just quit cold turkey and we're going to quadruple prices. We're going to go, or at least triple the prices. And there's no end in sight. This week, I saw the highest gas prices of my entire life, surpassing the Obama energy crisis in real dollars, even destroying the Carter years. And it's insane what has happened in a very short period of time. Within like a year and a half, we have seen things gone completely off the rails. And rather than addressing, this is what happened last week. So the Biden administration canceled one of the most high-profile oil and gas leases pending before the Department of Interior on Wednesday as Americans face record high prices at the pump, according to AAA. The DOI halted the potential to drill for oil in over 1 million acres in Alaska's Cook Inlet, along with 2 leases in the Gulf of Mexico. The move comes as Biden has taken a few actions to combat high gas prices, like release our strategic oil reserves, which is a really stupid idea. He's done this despite his administration's generally hostile approach to the oil industry. Now, here's a little secret. So the oil industry, right? They're not blameless. The left used to be right on this topic years ago, and a lot of people on the right just ignored it and said, yeah, Exxon, they do a lot of great things. And so, yeah, they should make trillions or billions or whatever it is they're making. Well, why is it that the oil companies always make record profits during these so-called shortages, right? So you have to pay more because there's less. So why should the oil company's not doing anything special? They're providing you with less of what you had before. Now, if the government is telling them, look, you can only extract so much oil from the ground, how is it that the oil companies make out like bandits if they can't extract more product? I've never understood this, as if the price is artificially inflated so that these oil companies make more money. Why is that? So I believe this is kind of a rigged system where under Trump, they weren't getting the money they wanted because there was such a huge supply. They weren't getting the kind of money for their products. But guess who that helps? The American consumer, right? See, here's why quitting cold turkey doesn't work, but here's why quitting is probably a good idea. That if you could have your own state-run company that provided the citizens of that particular state the energy that they needed for their homes, for their cars, for whatever else they need to power, the state of Florida could become its own independent energy producer, and they could work on biofuel. They could work on real alternatives to petroleum, because it seems every time we get our act together with petroleum, a Democrat comes along and screws it up, because they see this as the most existential threat of our time. And we can go into that, but I think it's a waste of time because, look, the Earth is a self-correcting mechanism, and we've cut CO2. We've done what we were told would help, but it's really starting to look like at this point that they just don't want you driving a car. And they want you to own nothing and be happy, and they don't want you to drive a car, because that would mean you'd own a car, right? So they don't want you owning a car. And if they do, it's going to be like a two-wheeler or a three-wheeler. You know, it's going to be something ridiculously small that, you know, you might have to pedal your feet to get rolling, and then it'll run on kinetic energy or something. I don't know. But we are going down a road where Americans won't have the same freedom of movement and independence. And again, psychologically, this is really damaging. People that wanted to go places on vacation, people that planned, you know, family outings where traveling is part of the memory. It's part of that whole experience. Fewer and fewer people are getting to do that in this situation. And it hurts. And it's a psychological problem. Every time one of these exponential crises comes out, and you're sitting there going, okay, how many more of these can we withstand? Right. And I could have done a video about the food, but I decided to go with energy first, because you're looking at the reaction. What did Biden do? Biden did the exact opposite of what a leader would do. Well, we certainly can't. I know my administration is against this type of energy, but Americans are really hurting. And again, we need that soft transition. We do need to make plans to transition, but we need the best scientists, which again, I say that out loud now, and I'm like, who's a good scientist, right? But we need real experts on these issues to help develop. The government should be encouraging corporations, hey, tax-free whatever, if you guys can develop alternative fuels that people can use immediately in their vehicles that will save them money at the pump. Hey, again, we can do this. We're Americans. We used to be able to do stuff like this, but we can't do it anymore because the government, every time they get involved in something, they destroy it. So it's got to be private industry, right? And it's got to be creative people, and it's got to be something that the government says, you know what, we got your back, but we're not subsidizing you completely. We're just going to make your, you know, your existence a lot easier. We're not going to get in your way. And that's what government should be doing. They should be getting out of everybody's way. But hey, you know, the reward would be this company would make, you know, billions of dollars, and they would help solve a problem. But we don't have problem solvers anymore. We have people that fight. They do partisan politics. They get up there and they say existential threat. and that shuts down any innovation, right? Okay, so I can't put solar energy into my car. My car will not run on solar. My car will not run on wind. Well, then maybe you should get a bicycle. Maybe you should walk. There are people that live 40, 50, 60, I don't know how many miles away from where they work. This is ridiculous, all right? And it puts everybody in a box. It's like a hostage situation. And this idea that we're going to kind of, it's like spitting in someone's face, like, okay, I can't pay for this gas. Well, you know what we're going to do in response? We're going to cut our leases. We're not going to drill for oil. We're going to drill for less oil. That's how we're going to deal with rising energy prices. And for those of you, and I'm kind of there, I'm like, you know, fossil fuel is still the here and now. And it just, I know people hate it. Some people hate it, but it's still the here and now. And other countries are doing far more damaging things, and nobody's stopping India or China from building a whole bunch of coal-fired plants, right? Tons of them. But here in the USA, we're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if you can drive in the summertime. We need the summer blend so the prices can go up even more. Highest gas prices in our history. And the response is, well, a couple of things. Obviously, our conflict with Russia, because we're fighting a proxy war with Russia right now. And yes, I said it out loud, and it sounds scary. And it is very, very scary. And that will be another video that I'll do at some point. But we're fighting this proxy war with Russia. And Russia, by the way, their citizens, they're paying like $2 a gallon, you know, in our money. They're paying about $2 a gallon for Russian. Nobody wants it, right? Russia can't export it to anybody. So they're just going to take care of themselves. See, this is the future of individual states here in America. If the states will get the cojones to just say, you know what, we don't want these energy companies. We will basically federalize or stateize our energy company. We'll have the Florida Energy Company, right? And it will create, like the power company, it will create energy that people will buy, and our prices will be affordable because we're going to be relying on Florida-made energy. And the energy could be solar, it could be petroleum-based, it could be biofuel. See, I'm thinking right now we should be looking at real alternatives, like right now, not in 10 years. Like, okay, ramp this up. Let's sign the bill. Let's cut the ribbons. Let's get going, you know? But we're just sitting here and we're watching this and we're like, we're hostages. We're being held hostage. And each one of these crises is designed to hurt your spirit, to bring you down a peg, so you'll think to yourself, okay, what's the alternative here? I can't afford to go out and buy a different vehicle. I need to get to work, you know? Truckers across the country, food prices, inflation, it's all tied together. If you don't have low energy prices, inflation is going to continue to go through the roof because it costs more to do everything, right? And petroleum-based products, by the way, are in more than just stuff that you put in your gas tank. So this is a designed level of chaos and confusion and hopelessness. And you're seeing this in everything. And what is the end goal of all of this? It's to create a society that is constantly in fear. And we know about this from the last 2+ years of this thingdemic that we've been going through, right? So you've got the thingdemic, and now you've got a number of other things that are piling onto that. And my point about Russia was that Russia has its own energy. And now we are intentionally not going to ever buy Russian energy again, but we'll buy energy from Saudi Arabia, right? and, you know, Saudi Arabia and Yemen, Russia, Ukraine. You got to look. We pick and choose which country has the thing that we want. Now, Russia doesn't want anything really from us. Saudi Arabia does, and we want stuff from them. And apparently there's enough sway, enough clout there that even though Saudi Arabia has not been a good country as far as treating their neighbors well, right? And this has been going on for decades, I think. We're still going to be a trading partner with them, and they're our go-to. When we want to cut our CO2 down, we go over to Saudi Arabia where their CO2 is higher. And then we take their energy and we bring it here. Okay. So you see how logistically this is a nightmare, but yet we do it to make it look like, okay, we're not drilling as much. No, I want to produce things here in the United States. And if it's not drilling, how can we create biofuel out of trash? Right? Seriously, how can we do those things? That should be our future, not let's just get rid of all of this fossil fuel and quit cold turkey and see how people react to it. People are reacting to it in a way that I've never seen in my entire life. People are frustrated. People are depressed. People are taking medications. People are checking out of this life in record numbers because there is no hope. And each one of these problems creates a new level of hopelessness, as if I'm, again, helpless to do anything about this problem. I'm being held hostage by a government that is doing some type of psychological terrorism. And again, the end game is what? Is it just population reduction? They're certainly going to achieve that. Is it this new normal where they believe people have to acquiesce to everything that they once knew, ditching their growing up years and the good memories they had as a child and how things used to be in the country, where if there was a problem that the United States was going to try to tackle that problem, and that we still had enough independence to like bypass the stupidity of government. We no longer have that can-do spirit and that will. It's gone. And for those of us who speak up and say things like, I can't understand why people are doing X, Y, and Z. I can't understand why people just giving over their rights, their freedoms, their privacy. And nobody seems to want to push back. And nobody seems to understand why they should push back. If you don't know why you should push back, then obviously you're not going to. So this is part one in a series of videos I'm going to be doing about these self-inflicted problems that are only going to escalate. And I might just do a video and list off all of the problems that have been created and that continue to escalate and be exponential in their growth, right? And we could talk about the Federal Reserve. We could talk about printing money. We could talk about the Wall Street scammers. And we could talk about so many different things, the real estate market right now. So there are a ton of problems that I will be focusing on in the days ahead, because I think we all need to be aware that something is terribly wrong and it's larger than that one thing. Like right now I'm talking energy. There's something like a dark cloud that hangs over everything that is bigger and that it is controlling all of these different entities and forces, these negative forces. There's a controlling force. And I'm going to try to put my finger on it. And it's not just this idea of a new world structure or order, as some people like to say it's a new world order. It's something even more sinister. And I don't know if it's the Georgia Guidestones. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that overall this is all by design, because again, the philosophy is to create a crisis and then not let that crisis go to waste, and change human behavior in each area of that crisis. And then once you achieve that goal, you again, you move the goalposts, or you move the yard markers down, and then you set up for another 10-yard gain. These people are incredibly sophisticated. And I do mean that. They're incredibly sophisticated. They're incredibly prescient and intelligent. And this has been war gamed out as to what the next way to manipulate, or to terrorize, or to influence, or to, you push down and then you maybe back up 5 yards, and then you push down again, back up 2 or 3 yards. So, and this has been going on for decades. Some people call it the Overton window. It's more of an end game. This is a plan that at the end of it all, human beings don't have rights. They're insecure all the time. They're worried about their future constantly, and they're not able to enjoy themselves. They're not able to pursue happiness. So that's my exciting and uplifting video for today, people. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to help out over on Patreon. There's a logo that looks like the letter P, should be red. You can click on that. That'll go over to the Patreon, which is shared by this channel and my music-oriented channel. All goes to the same place. So if you sign up over there, just identify yourself as more of a political person, just so I know what to talk about. So I'm not telling you about the, the Motley Crue concert coming up or something like that, because that might be irritating to some people. All right. See you soon.